In the town hall upstairs if you're looking for us. This meeting is also being carried remotely, and you can dial in. The meeting may be accessed remotely via the town on-demand video broadcast on cable television on channel 191, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455, enter 1428 pound for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. That said, we have a quorum of 3, and we also have David online.
He's not on here yet.
He's not online yet? You want to just go forward with the meeting, or do you want to see if you can catch him?
Wait. Is it you or Tom Sturbridge? There we go. Dave, are you online here for the meeting? There's one person, I'm not sure who they are. Just 3 of you.
I beg your pardon?
He's not on here, so.
He's not on. Well, we have a quorum of 3. And with that, we will move forward. You want to, I guess, okay, that's Victor Pollock, that's not.
Do you want me to go ahead and read the public?
Yeah, go ahead and read the, yeah.
In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body, or resource area, and/or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area, in accordance with Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetland Bylaws and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to opening the first hearing for each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. These items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. If any of the visitors have not legibly signed in yet, please do. Also, if any visitors are recording this meeting, please let us know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, we are at 6:05?
Not quite.
Not
Yeah.
quite?
But just for the record, before we start, Eric Gaspar missed the last meeting. He did watch the meeting and submitted the Mullins report for all the continued public hearings that we have tonight,
Yep.
for the record.
All right, then we'll do CPA. There has not been a CPA meeting, and there isn't one planned. So that's an update on that. Anything with Lakes?
So there hasn't been a meeting. The next one is in April. However, Becky did provide me a contact, and Raul has generously offered to help the other lakes committees with any possible betterment process.
Oh, really?
to help with their
Oh,
roads.
wow.
So I'm gonna get that as part of the agenda for when we come back in meetings in April, and see if he's willing to come to the meeting and discuss that as well. So I think that getting an education into their hands will potentially allow us to kind of move that process forward a little bit. So I was encouraged by that. Thank you for sending
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Great. And David will have to give us trails at another date. So with that, can we move to 6:05?
Yep.
Which would be 53 Hillside Drive, RDA, proposed single-family home, and John Rowley. All right. Gentlemen?
Pete, do you want me to pull the plan up or anything, or?
David's here.
Welcome, David.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
Yep, no problem. You're just trying to give us a little trouble, that's all, right?
But I needed Glenn to help me with some technical problems.
Okay.
Do you want to just do a quick roll call, just?
All right, I'm going to do a roll call now that you're on, Dave. Okay?
Dave Barnacle here.
Okay.
Stephen Chittister, present.
Ed Goodwin present.
Eric Gaspar, present.
Okay. All right, go ahead, gentlemen. Yeah.
All right, so Scott Morrison's supposed to be calling in too, but basically, the site, 53 Hillside Drive, there's a low valley type situation between the road and the upland area where Mr. Rowley would like to construct his home.
If it makes you comfortable to pull it down to speak,
Sure.
it, you know. What can you say? Yeah.
So the area was, well, previously Mr. Rowley had a different engineer who had another environmental consultant look at this area and flag it. It's unsure what she flagged it as. There's no documentation of that flagging. She's not a wetland scientist, not a soil evaluator. So Mr. Rowley then hired us. We had Mary Ann DePinto go out there. She evaluated the area, rehung flags where the old flags were, but noted that she didn't know why the flags were there. Said there wasn't wetland vegetation, wasn't hydric soils, didn't appear to be a wetland. So we submitted a plan to the Board of Health. This area was marked out on the previous engineer's perk test log as a wetland. So that probably caught the Board of Health's eye and brought that to Becky's attention. So we shared Marian's report with Becky. Becky wanted more information. The report was a little vague, didn't have vegetation logs, didn't have soil logs. So we had Marianne go back out to do a vegetation log and a soil log, which we gave to Becky. She only did one vegetation log and claimed she couldn't do a soil log because of the bony soils, which it is quite rocky. But that wasn't enough information. So at that point, we decided to hire Ecotech to go out and basically re-review the entire area. Scott Morrison went out there, did 3 vegetation logs, 3 soil logs, and his conclusion was that it was not a wetland. Now there are little pockets that hold water, which I saw when I was out there with Mary Ann. Originally, I had drawn a plan with 9 of those areas based only on visual observation, and placed a single flag in each one, just to show how minor those areas were. When we progressed to get Ecotech involved, we created this plan, which uses LiDAR topography. We brought in points and created contours at 3-inch intervals. And these are basically all the little depressions that could potentially hold water. The deepest one is 3 or 4 inches. I don't really recall. Nothing bigger than 6 inches. All the areas are very, very small. The total area of water ponding volume is less than 5% of what the state requires isolated land subject to flooding to be. So again, the town doesn't have a minimum volume. I guess the question is whether or not the 6-inch rule is applicable. From the previous project, that was kind of ignored. Scott and Paul from Ecotech seem to think it is criteria, but I guess that's up to the commission, which is why we're here, to see if this area is jurisdictional to the local bylaw, and therefore the proposed driveway would then be through that jurisdictional area.
Okay. Becky, you want to go next?
Sure. Just for the record, we do have the abutter notifications and the legal ad for the public hearing.
Yep.
I think Pete kind of went over that well. I did become aware of this before the septic plan got filed. I know when these lots were on the market, I did receive a copy of the previous engineer's sketch that showed the wetland delineation area, and then also, after that, I did actually get a call from one of the adjacent property owners and asked me to go out onto their property. This area was flooded, so I did see it at that time too. So I had been involved a little bit before this came in, but when it did come in, I did flag it for Board of Health because of those concerns of what I had seen before. So, as Pete said, I did ask for some information, did receive initial report from Mary Ann, asked for a little bit more information because it was very vague. They did submit some additional information. I was a little concerned because the reports that she had submitted varied with the information a little bit. And I did say at that time that, and after that, I did go out there and look at it. So I did go out there, and at that time, there was no water ponding, and in the northern and kind of the southern sections, I did find hydric soil. The middle section is kind of more of an upland area, but it definitely has these pockets within it that is holding water, and it was flooded when I did initially go out there in September. So I do have some concerns. I think there's enough kind of information that suggests that it is jurisdictional. Whether it's just isolated land subject to flooding, or if there are portions of it that might be an isolated vegetated wetland, I think would require more information to figure that out. I did receive, and I did email it, but I did print copies for you. Paul McManus did submit. Did you want it? I didn't know if everyone had a chance to see it via email, because it just came in.
That's all.
So, Rex had talked about this. We had another project that this question about isolated land subject to flooding came up, and about the volume requirement and the 6-inch depth. And we did have our peer reviewer on that project at that time that did say that he felt that the 6-inch requirement was negated by the fact that there was no volume requirement, and he thought that it was a contradiction of that. He said if there's no minimum volume, how can you have ponding of 6 inches? It's a bit of a contradiction. So I do think under the bylaw that it is jurisdictional, based off the information, and that would be my recommendation. And there's a question if, additional information might be needed to further look into that. That's up to the board. But my recommendation would be to issue a positive number 5 that is jurisdictional under the local bylaw. Just to remind you that the RDA, the only request was, is it jurisdictional under the local bylaw? So you're not making a decision if it's jurisdictional under the state act. And right, to figure out the ponding depth, I think would take either, engineering looking at that. I don't know that, we have the information to determine if it wouldn't be jurisdictional under the state act at this time, or based off what it has the capacity to hold, or what's been observed as the depth that it's held out there. But as I said, we're only looking at it under, is this jurisdictional under the local bylaw at this time? So with your determination, if you make one, I would just recommend that we do add a sentence in there that it wasn't requested that this be determined to be jurisdictional under the state act.
Yep.
So as far as the isolated land subject to flooding depth thing, this shows what the maximum depth of water is. The water can't get any higher, otherwise it would overflow and flow downhill. For it to pond into one large pool, there's a 7-foot difference from the northern property line to the southern property line. There'd have to be 7 feet of water at that southern property line for there to be one contiguous pool of water, which does not happen. There'd have to be a dam, or the Quinnebog River would have to raise 170 feet, which is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
that
I
is
don't
what
think
it,
that it has the.
those are the engineering calcs on the storage. It doesn't get any higher.
Yeah. It does slope, and it's a little flatter in areas, so I just don't know that it doesn't have the capacity to hold a little bit more than what you're showing. I don't know that.
Well,
I'm not being an engineer, we don't have.
I'm
one
a
on staff,
registered
so.
professional engineer stamping this plan, saying that that's it.
Okay.
Stephen?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Becky said. I've never seen a situation before where this number of depressions in an area, a confined area like this, has been defined as puddles. So that concerns me. It also concerns me that it was originally flagged as a wetland and those flags were removed, regardless of, the qualifications of the people that did that, they flagged it for a reason. And I have a feeling that at some point in the year, maybe in the spring, there's much more water in this area. So I have seen evidence of hydric soils there and wetland species, and so I would like to, have this either, we call it jurisdictional by
Yeah.
Sturbridge standards, or we get additional information.
Eric?
Yeah, I have to agree with Steve on this. I try to call them as I see them and apply reason and logic. And it's difficult for me to get over the fact that even though they weren't necessarily a wetland scientist, that somebody flagged that in a drought situation as a wetland, and as wet as it's been out here for the last year, that the flags were picked up. That it wasn't a wetland, and obviously, I respect everybody's professional qualifications, but for me, I'd prefer to either determine that it's jurisdictional or give an option to the applicant to have a third party review that for us on our behalf, so we can have somebody determine whether or not that makes sense for us. With regards to the 6-inch depth, I've given a lot of thought to that, and I've read the letters and heard your opinions about that, and Scott's opinions on that, and I respect that. Personally, I don't necessarily want to go off of one third-party reviewer's opinion. I'd prefer to go to town council to get this legally reviewed, to make sure that we are not hanging our hat on one person's review of the law that doesn't have a legal degree. So for me, when it comes to that issue, I think that it would be well served for you folks as the applicant and us as the commission to have town council weigh in on that, and how those two things work, and maybe even provide them the third-party review of what was said, so they have something to go off of. But I'm not comfortable saying this isn't a wetland, given the fact that everybody agrees that it was flagged at one point, without having somebody take a look at that for us. So,
David? Are you
There's an elementary book that starts out something like, this gets curiouser and curiouser as time goes on. And one of the things that I'd like to point out is something that Becky wrote on page 1 of the Conservation Department detailed agenda. If you go all the way to the very bottom, she says, on the very last line, some trees and sphagnum observed also. Well, regardless of how much training you've got, sphagnum is an obligate species. So that would clearly indicate that there is water on that site routinely. Otherwise, there would not be sphagnum. And the sphagnum was not put there by people. So I totally agree with what both of my predecessors have indicated and what Becky is indicating. I think we have to say yes on for number 5. I think everything that has been said thus far on our part, I agree with.
Okay, thank you. What's the lot size of this now? What are we talking about? What is the size of the lot, acreage-wise?
35?
Slightly over 31 acres.
31 acres is this particular lot?
Correct.
Yeah. So there are considerable other wetlands on that?
Yes, there are. The area where we're looking to build, though, is outside the buffer zone.
Yeah. No, and I guess, I think the issue of inconsistency, and it's not a criticism of any one party, but the pattern coming forward would be, I feel that we'd be remiss if we didn't, go with number 5, that positive determination, and also note in it that we, there was no request on the state bylaw. So, and come back to us in the spring when we can measure this thing correctly. That would be what I would say to you. I mean, flora and fauna is not exactly, blooming up there. And, stepping around in that, I have to, it does not, 1 minute you think you're in a wetland, 1 minute you're not. But this configuration has never come before me. I've been on this committee for 35 years. Nobody's ever come in and said, look at this is what we have.
Right.
So,
So this came about based on, that other project where that isolated land subject to flooding under the state requirement was taken jurisdictionally, which I don't know what the history of the town doing that is, but obviously that's something that's come up and is going to be done more, as well as 2 wetland scientists telling me it's not a wetland. So at that point, I have to figure out if it's isolated land
Yeah.
to flooding. I guess my question would be, with the positive determination, what's the resource area? Is it positive as a wetland? Is it positive as isolated land subject to flooding? Because it's kind of,
Well, we're not making a determination on what the resource area is. Is it subject to the local bylaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all that was requested.
yeah,
wouldn't have to be subject to a certain resource area, though? I mean, no disrespect, I mean, I like Eric's idea of talking to town council.
No,
And if
we're not
possible, I
going
mean,
to, we're not going to, we're not going to use town council as the conservation agents.
No, just as a opinion
That's
on that matter.
far too expensive, and it's not, they would turn it right back around to us anyway, so.
Regardless, I mean, also, a peer review, taking a look at this for all aspects.
Yeah.
Going out in the spring is not going to do anything as far as ponding wise. I mean,
Well, that's up to you. I think that what we, and at this position now,
I just think if we come back in the spring, it's basically going to be the same thing, and then at that point, we'll have to do a peer review. So if we're going to do the peer review, why not just get it started now rather than wait?
If I may.
yeah, go ahead.
Do we need to make a determination, or can we ask for the peer review so they can start the process if they accept that, and then take the peer review's information and then make the determination based off of that? So it seems to me as if we make a determination, then they have to appeal the determination, and there's a process to that. But if we table it or continue it, offer them the ability to get a peer review and bring that so we can review that, then that might be the best course forward to allow them to get ahead of the project. If it comes back and our peer reviewer says it's not a wetland, then it's not jurisdictional, then we all move on. If the peer reviewer comes back and says what it is, then they're likely to give us exactly what you're asking for, which is, all right, it's jurisdictional, and it's jurisdictional based off of this.
Right.
So I don't know if we have to make a determination or not, but I would think if that might be the easiest way forward.
If they're willing to give a continuation and give the additional information, I think you can proceed in that manner, if you choose.
Excuse me.
I'd add with that is time of year. There could be concerns because of the time of year it is,
Right.
with snow cover coming and things like that, but it might be worthwhile if the end result is going to be the same to start that process sooner than later if you choose for that. But I think
We have,
year plays
this is David Barnacle, we have 40 separate indications of dips in the land that have water in them at various periods of time. We wait until at least everything is cleared up in the springtime, we can actually do some augering and take a look at what the soils look like, which is what we're supposed to be doing in terms of being able to ID whether this is wetland or not. So I would really strongly suggest that we make the move for 5, but at the same time, we don't want any more site testing until springtime.
Yeah, I would prefer to see the,
What?
I would prefer to see the peer review in the spring,
Yeah.
in case, I mean, we don't know, what's the potential for vernal pools here?
Are you willing to do that? I mean, if you're,
Not sure that I have a choice.
yeah, no, but I'm just talking
I
out.
mean, truthfully, gonna put us in a position that I guess we're gonna be in. The only thing I'd like to suggest, if it makes any difference from when you folks came out, we're not looking to do any clear cutting. The project is what it is. We want to live back in the woods. Interestingly enough, my wife and I moved here 27 years ago today, believe it or not. So we've been lifelong residents. We want to finish off our time here. We're just looking to put a driveway, and we don't want a view of the street. And when you see the driveway pattern, we're not looking to take anything down when you're going to have a fireplace in the new house. We want to preserve the land. We're just looking for a way to get back there, and where we're building is not near anything. So if we can do a peer review somehow before then I'll try to help facilitate a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's the thing we're saying
Yeah,
no to. The problem is that it's snowing tonight,
Right?
and you really, I don't know, I guess the answer is no. It's a soft no, but it's,
Well,
Well,
you
I
can
get-
start the process now. We can
Yeah.
get it started, because there is some work that we have to do
Yeah.
to get quotes to bring to you and things like that. And then if the conditions are appropriate, a peer review might be able to be started. They might say, look, we need to come back out in the spring for these reasons, X, Y, and Z,
Okay.
and that will be the case. But you could start the process now, because it does take time to, set up peer reviews and stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah, and if I
But-
may,
go ahead.
I guess.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go
not to
ahead.
be totally contrary, but wouldn't it be better to be able to have some vegetation on the ground in order to be able to really put the nail into this particular coffin? At the present time, we're discussing ground. We're discussing maybe there's a rock underlayer. We're discussing maybe this and maybe that. But if we wait until springtime, then we're going to have plant growth that we can see, and we can see whether the plant growth is in fact obligatory to wetlands or not. It will solve a whole bunch of the questions that we have.
Well, that dovetails with the question I was gonna ask, is the composition of the hydric soils isn't gonna change whether or not it happens in January or it happens in May. Like, the soil is gonna be what the soil is, the composition, and that's not gonna change. So, yeah, I agree with you from a vegetation standpoint, but the hydrology should give us what we need. And if our peer reviewers that we're hiring are qualified, then we need to rely on them as the experts and as the scientists to provide us the guidance on that. Like, I'm not qualified to say whether or not it's better in January, better in May, or better in November, but they would be. And it makes me uncomfortable to hold this up over a personal preference, as opposed to allowing a professional that we hire on behalf of the applicant to give us their opinion. And if they come back and say, we can't do this because of this, this, and this, well, then that's on you guys, and we'll have to follow that. But I personally believe that we should allow them to expedite or not expedite, but go through the process accordingly. And if our consultant says that we need to wait, then that's what we're gonna do. But I'm just one person.
Anything further? I'm concerned that we'll be throwing out a caveat, that your definition of it isn't there. There's a thing called frozen ground. There's all kinds of things that are going to happen between now and the spring. I don't have any problem in proceeding in the manner that you're talking about, but I don't want to give them the idea we're not going to look at flora and fauna before we make a decision. That would be what I would say.
Again, I'm not, I'm just saying, I'm gonna follow what the expert
Yeah.
says and what the wetland scientist comes back, the third-party reviewer comes back with, and I think we should provide deference to them
Okay.
in this case.
All right, you want to make, Stephen, you want to make a motion, or? Yep, public. Anybody in the public like to speak to this? And further, anybody on the line?
Anyone on the public line who'd like to speak in regards to the request for determination of applicability for 53 Hillside Drive? Nope.
So are we pursuing the independent
We
review?
haven't decided. Nobody's made a motion to,
I'd like to make a motion that we, if the applicant would like to request a continuance, that we hire a third-party reviewer to access the site, review the site, determine the wetlands applicability with regards to the Sturbridge bylaw, and if they would like to expand that to the Wetland Protection Act, that's on, that would obviously be a better solution, I think, for you guys as well.
Understood.
Would you like a continuance?
Please.
Okay, so that would be my motion.
Yeah.
Continuance would be till,
Well, I think you should also vote for the additional information.
I'm
It
sorry.
starts with here, yeah.
yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of, okay.
Oh, sorry.
I tried to-
was trying
I tried
find
to-
the
I tried to do
schedule.
them all at
Okay,
once.
Okay, sorry, I missed that.
But yeah, to request the third-party review as part of the continuance, so we can use that information to make a determination of whether or not it is applicable or not under the bylaw.
So the next meeting is January 27th.
Do I have a second?
A second. Stephen Chittister.
Okay, discussion? Since we don't have to close the public hearing because it's
We're continuing.
continuing. I would like to add that the third-party review include flora and fauna.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Eric?
Well, I guess I'd like to ask Becky, is that necessary? Is
Well, plants-
the
plants are-
hydrology in the soils, if it says that it's not a wetland, then, the flora and the fauna is circumstantial at best, right? Generally, the two things happen at the same time. Is that accurate?
Right, you need to look at both. Plants are an important component of it as well.
Right, but which is more indicative, the soil or the plants?
We can hear you, we can hear him. Okay.
Is there someone on the line?
Yes.
Oh, wait, who's on the line?
Josephine Bogliazzo?
Okay, hi, Joe, we're not at your, thing yet, so just gotta hold on for a little bit, okay?
Okay, I'll hold on. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could respond to Eric's question?
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
It's, Eric, one of the things that's weird is that you get two different opinions from two different states with two different sets of experts. For example, in Massachusetts, we can do it by reason of foliage. We don't need to have soils involved. In Connecticut, they don't pay attention to the vegetation. They only pay attention to the soils. So it comes down to that thing about which expert are you going to listen to?
All
All right.
All right, I would prefer not to amend my motion. If you guys want to vote it down, then that's fine. But I don't, I would prefer not to amend my motion.
All right. Do I have a second? For your motion, you have a second.
I already
right?
seconded it, yeah.
All in favor of Eric's motion?
Eric?
David Barnacle, in favor.
David Barnacle is in favor of Eric's motion? Stephen?
I guess I'm opposed. Stephen
Yeah,
Chittister opposed.
I'm opposed also. So it doesn't pass.
Okay.
So, Stephen Chittister, I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing for additional information, specifically for a peer review,
Can you bring your stuff
and
over
that,
there on the-
that peer review include analysis of flora and fauna. Did I get everything?
All right, yeah. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, David Barnacle.
Discussion? All in favor?
Stephen Chittister in favor?
Eric?
Eric Gaspar opposed?
Dave Barnacle?
David Barnacle in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Okay. All right, so that's how we're going to proceed. All right? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are we doing anything to, under the state act or just
Nope.
under the disturbance bylaw? No. Disturbance bylaw, right?
Right, it's the only thing that was requested.
Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. We are now at 47 Karen Road. Ken Strong?
Do you,
Becky, you want
yeah,
to?
number 2, do you want to,
Yeah,
do you want me to read it, or?
yeah, go ahead, yep.
So, a public hearing, 6:15 for 47 Karen Road. This is a
Yep.
request for determination of applicability for landscape improvements. Owner applicant Kenneth Strom, representative is Mark Levine of Ground Effects. Mark, are you on here?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. Mark, do you want to just give a quick description of the project?
Sure, it's, the main walkway from their driveway, which is gravel, to the deck of the house is gravel currently. And we're proposing to put a pervious paver walkway there. And there's a set of paver steps that go down to a big paver patio that we're not going to touch. But the two sets are in major disrepair, so we were hoping to get the permission to repair those stairs. Those would also be a solid granite instead of concrete, and the pavers are just going to be replaced with a newer paver in the landings, the 2 landings. That's basically the project.
Okay.
All right.
And just, Mark, I know you're on the phone there, but just so you're aware, I did pull up
Yep.
the sketch plan and have that on the
Okay.
screen here for them. So, right, this is a landscape improvement project. We did perform a site visit out here last week. I did ask for the request for determination of applicability due to the proximity to resource areas for the project. We also, just for the record, we did receive the abutter notifications and have proof that the legal ad was advertised. My recommendation for this would be that you vote to close the public hearing, issue a negative number 3 with conditions. The conditions would be to have sedimentation controls installed and maintained during work, and then also our additional standard conditions for erosion control measures, pre-construction and post-construction that we typically have on there. I'd also recommend issuing a positive number 5. It's subject to the local bylaw with the conditions I just noted.
All right. Stephen?
Yep, I'm fine with this. I don't have any comments.
No
right.
comments.
David?
No questions.
The only question that I had, it's not a question, it's kind of a coaching. The, on the patio, the main patio that you're not going to touch,
Yes.
which is just above the big pine,
Right.
there's a root that protrudes up, I'm going to guess like 3 inches.
Okay.
What do you plan to do with that root?
To be honest with you, I'm not aware of it. If it's down, I'm not clear as to where it is. It's down on the lower
It goes
patio?
under the it comes under the patio. It lifts the patio.
Yeah. If it's in the lower one, we're not doing any work down there. We're not going to touch that big, expansive lower patio at all. That's going to remain as it is.
All right. That's the correct answer, by the way, just in case. I wanted to know. The other thing, we were, that dog was, we really couldn't look at the site well because that bulldog was chasing us away.
Oh, I haven't run into him yet, so thanks for
okay.
the coaching on that one.
All right. I don't have any questions. Sorry.
Public,
David?
public?
Yep.
Is there anyone in the audience or on the public line that would like to speak in regards to the request for determination of applicability for 47 Karen Road? It's negative.
Yep. All right. Do I have a motion?
So Stephen Chittister, I make a motion.
Oh, wait, so I'm sorry. We got to close the public hearing.
I was just about
Okay,
to
go ahead.
to close the public hearing.
Second the motion. Eric Gaspar.
Any discussion? David, how do you vote?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Ed Gooder in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
All right, good.
I'd like to make a motion that with regards to 47 Karen Road, the RDA, that we issue a -3 with the agent's notes and conditions, and a +5 also with the agent's notes and conditions.
Do I have a second?
Stephen Chittister, I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, David?
David Barnacle in favor.
Eric?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Stephen? Go ahead.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
And Stephen's in favor and Ed's in favor. Good. I'm looking at Stephen and saying Eric, so.
We're easy to mix up. Twins.
All right. We are now on to 53 New Boston Road, local bylaw, notice of intent, single-family home with associated site work. Owner applicant is Tom Mazzarino. T. Ravane is, yeah. Is that how you say it, Ravane?
Oh, thank you. Perfect. I'll take it. Yeah, we had the proof of it, so, yeah, they sent it, but we'll take it. Oh, maybe they were here for that Karen Road one.
Oh, okay. Easy enough.
Good evening.
Do you want to go over the project? Do you want me to start, or?
That's up to you, that's fine.
I'll give a summary if you want.
Okay.
All right, so this is a local notice of intent for a project. I'll share my screen for those on here. Hard to see it on there. So this is a project that was filed under the Sturbridge zoning bylaw, chapter 300-4.1E, which requires work within 500 feet on 8% slopes to a resource area and need to file for review. So that's why this is in front of the board right now, or it requires under that bylaw that they receive orders of conditions from the Conservation Commission. So we have the plan here. The plan, maybe I didn't pull up the most current one. I apologize. Let's see, here it is. We did ask the original plan that was included in your packet for you, didn't have the erosion controls shown on here. He did sketch those on here. They were installed on site. According to DPW, they did tell me they went out there and saw them out there. And then also I asked for some information to be included about, I'm gonna have to zoom in, about the work that he was doing to the stormwater swale on the site.
Yeah.
They were going to be redoing that. So I'll let Tom go into that in a minute. So, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm covering everything here. Yeah, so we did perform a site visit out here last week. You know, we saw that some of the site was already cleared. Some of the portions of the upper swale had kind of been disturbed. So that's why we were asking for the additional information about the swale on here. So do you want to go into that?
Sure. We,
Just introduce yourself.
I'm Tom Ravane from Ravane Builders. We did do all the siltation fence, get it in. We had weather issues last week. I was trying to get it done before the site walk, but we didn't. So we did put all the, which was requested, But Becky said, you know, we did exactly, I think, and it shows it on the plan, all the way from the street, all the way down around on the inside, the house side of the swale. Therefore, any work that's going to be done, once we do the swale, get that looking the way we want it to do and what we propose to even the highway department, we won't have any impact once we stop building on the house, and that'll keep it. The swale that was originally there was never really, it wasn't built as a swale. It was just a pipe that was put there, and it kind of created its own swale all the way down. So it found its own path and eroded it that way. We plan, and I put the images on the site plan, that we are going to create an actual swale, and we're going to put the fabric down first, and then we're going to put 6-inch minus stone all the way down and create it with a few check dams all the way down and control the runoff as it's going down. And it'll be a lot more secure, and it'll also filter out any dirt or anything that gets in it from the street or wherever it's coming from. It'll be a lot more secure than it is actually now. We're going to go all the way to the end of the property with it, and we'll make it so the check dams are, routinely. I mean, if we find it's not enough, we can always add another check dam or two. And that's basically, we're going to wrap the slope is pretty much going to stay the same. What it is, it was an 8% slope, so we had Tober Engineering go out. They did all the surveying and all the work on it. The house is a walkout basement, so we're going to keep a lot of the existing slopes. Some of that slope was man-made originally from years back. It seems to have been dug out in there somehow. We're not going to alter that site too much because we're building the house right into the hill with a walkout coming out the back. So we're not going to bring in fill. We're not going to do any of that. We're going to try to pick the house right in and then kind of grade it a little bit so it's not as evasive going down the sides. Kind of make it more a little bit more level from the front to the backyard. And that's basically it. And we're going to wrap the hay bales. It does go upland if you're facing the house, the back right side, it's pretty good size upland, so we can we'll try to slope and grade the lot to prevent, water from running down. I mean, it is kind of in a bowl type setting, so there's only so much we can do with the earth, but that's, we've built many homes around the area, and our grading will be correct. We'll take the hay bales and go up the hill on that side, so it'll catch any water or anything during the site construction. That's it.
Okay. Becky, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. The only thing I had noted in my detailed agenda too was looking at where, because the whole thing does grade down towards the swale, looking at like where perimeter drains are going, they don't discharge directly into the swale, and maybe trying to regrade somewhat so that way site runoff and any nutrients, fertilizers on the lawns, things like that don't end up in the swale and in the lake. So those are my only comments there.
Right, yeah, it'll grade, the way the natural grade of that land is the swale is actually almost higher than some of the parts of those, so it will be graded away from that as it is anyway.
Yeah, well, maybe not down the back, though. It goes down.
Right, yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, it's a natural slope of the land. We can only do so much, but we'll make the effort to make sure. We also don't want runoff into the swale too, because we don't want it to get clogged up or anything. It's gotta work.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to make sure that it's protected all the way around.
All right, David, you have any comments?
Yeah, one comment. Becky had suggested as a possibility, I think it would be a necessity to have a berm at the back end of the property to do exactly what Becky was just talking about, making certain that none of the insecticides, pesticides, herbicides have the opportunity of doing that 8-degree dance down into Cedar Lake.
You did talk about a detention basin down there when we were on site, if I remember correctly.
Not a detention basin, just a wider spot.
What, okay.
No, we're not gonna put a detention basin
Yeah.
on there and create.
But if we put a berm up at the top, if we put a berm at the top, we can prevent that.
Really go anywhere. I mean, it's gotta be directed. We said we can open up the area before, because it's gonna stop on the next lot, because we don't own the next lot. I think it'll be, right now, it has no control. It runs down through the dirt, and it's been like that for years and years and years. So we're gonna actually improve that drainage 100 times over.
I think what Dave's mentioning, what I was thinking was at the edge of the yard, like where the erosion controls are
Yeah.
shown on the plan, is doing some type of berm there, so that way the site runoff doesn't, have the ability to get down into the swale and get
Right.
off the property.
We'll probably grade that up anyway. I mean, there's a natural berm on the high side, there's a lot of upland all the way across, but where it starts going down, we've got to control that area. And I think we discussed that, how we'll try to make it so the water doesn't pool there, but yet is kind of filters itself from the protection of the yard and everything. That's pretty easy to do with site work.
Stephen?
Yeah, so I agree with the comment of trying to keep the majority of the yard runoff from getting into that swale.
Yep.
And I had a question about that. It looked like a ponding area at the bottom, just on your side of the property line. But that's just gonna be a wider area. You're gonna fill that with
Yeah,
rocks or
we'll
something?
filter it out so it has a wider area to disperse itself, so it doesn't create such a runoff straight from through. And we'll probably put I believe we're gonna put even a check dam at the very end of that as well.
Good.
Stop it, just to keep it, so if the water can stop there, it kind of filter itself into the ground through the stone.
Good. And you mentioned using a fabric. I'm assuming that's a pervious fabric that you're?
Yes.
Yes, okay, very good.
Yep. We put those in when we build subdivisions or whatever, we put them
Yep.
under the, for detention ponds and overruns and over drainages and stuff.
We recently had an experience where DOT put in a impervious
Why?
base, and so we're not getting any.
He's not sleeping nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very upset about it.
No, this is, it's the correct stuff to put in, if I
Thank you.
say.
That's it for me.
Yep. Eric?
Yeah, I guess, I'm just curious on your comments to continue. Is that because we don't have the details on the?
Sorry, he did bring this plan in. When I did the detailed agenda at the end of last week, we didn't have this plan with the erosion controls.
Okay.
And the information about the swale.
Okay.
Yep, so that was my original comments, yeah.
And I drive by that site twice a day, every day, and I can confirm that the silt fence is in, and I even looked to see that it seemed to be properly put in, so thank you. No, I have no other comments.
Want to see if the audience has any?
Yep, anyone in the audience or on the public line who would like to speak in regards to the notice of intent for 53 New Boston Road? Nope.
All right. Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public?
So moved, Eric Gaspar?
Do I have a second?
Stephen Chittister, a second.
Discussion, David, anything?
So Becky, just to be clear, you're all set with this then?
Yeah, I would just
Yeah.
add some conditions in, and we can talk about that when you're ready.
Yeah.
No questions. David Barnacle.
You want to add them in now, Becky?
So, I would just say we'd have all our normal standard pre-construction,
Yep.
construction, closing out of the permit conditions that we typically have. As far as, regarding the swale, I would just recommend that there's no drains, perimeter, roof, whatever drains directly discharged into the swale, since we just don't have them on the plan.
Yeah.
And that the backyard grade, isn't sloped into the swale. There's some, I don't know how we could word it, he doesn't want to do a berm or however, some discussion on that.
Right.
Something like that, so it's not directly in the swale, because it does go right into the lake, and we do have nutrient issues in that lake, and we're trying to work on that, so. And then I would just say that, as far as, we don't really have the details about how many check dams are not in there. I'd recommend that maybe there's an as-built plan that's submitted that includes the details, since we're just kind of working on the sketch right now. I think that would be useful, and it shows where those check dams are. And then there's perpetual, conditions for the maintenance, because this is private property of that swale, whether it's, once a year cleaning out or whatever's required.
Okay.
I mean, it is.
Becky, are you going to include the berm?
I think that's up to you guys, we can think about how to word that, so the backyard isn't pitched, graded into the swale, whether you want a berm or not. I think that you can discuss that.
Okay.
David?
I'm David Barnacle in favor. But we haven't made a motion yet.
You have, David, do you have a suggested wording for
Suggested wording
the
we're looking for,
non-berm?
or the motion.
What I'm worried about is the direction that the berm can cause the water to go into. because as the contractor indicated, you don't want to have more ponding.
Right.
And yet you don't want it to go directly into the swale because that's just going to overtop the swale.
Right.
Can you direct it more? I don't know. Can you direct it more toward the street so it will be picked up by the street source?
No. That's a big no. That's where 8% comes in. The street's the high point.
I think with the extra stone at the end of the swale, I mean, right now, there's nothing there, and it is a drain that was put in by the town onto private property. So, I mean, there's, you know, I know we're gonna, and they understand that, you know, it's gotta be maintained.
Yeah.
You know, so it only benefits everybody to make sure that the property owner maintains it. Otherwise, it's gonna just overflow and go in multiple directions.
Oh, yeah, I think what they're talking about is that trying to reduce your site runoff after it's built, like their
Right.
yard runoff into the swale, because that swale goes into the lake. That's what the commission's
And that's where we
concerned
had
about.
discussed, you know, like talking about maybe making the bottom a little bit wider and putting a stone berm at the end to stop if anything's coming down from the lawn. At least if you have enough stone down there, it will filter itself.
You mean before you get to the swale? Or are you talking about?
Yeah,
in
even
the
before you
swale?
get to the swale, kind of at the end, the swales, I mean, we're talking that runoff is at the very, very end of the
Yeah.
property.
Well, we're
So
just
that's where
talking-
we're trying
yeah.
to make it a little bit, so it'll collect the water,
Right.
and not prevent it. We can
Yeah, I think
open
they're
that
just,
up a little bit with some stone, so it can kind of go in that first. And then you're at the very end of the swale, so after that, it's just gonna go, I'd rather have it soak into the ground. And it's not, we're not talking a lot of runoff, because I think this is just an overflow drain
Yeah.
from a detention pond from the subdivision up the street. So I don't think there's, and that doesn't overflow that much, there's not a tremendous amount of water flow going through that,
yeah,
anyway.
I think we understand that. I think,
Yeah.
right, they just don't want,
But at the same time, we don't want you to
Yeah.
create,
Exactly. We
Yeah.
don't wanna create that.
yeah, okay.
We don't, you know, we've been doing this a long time, so we don't wanna create any issues
Yeah.
for anyone down the street, or for the homeowners
Yeah.
themselves either, or the town.
Right. All right, anything else? You have it, Becky, as far as what you're gonna put in it?
you guys gotta make a motion.
Well,
We-
but all right.
We're at the discussion on the closing the hearing, so we haven't
Right.
closed the hearing yet.
Yeah.
Voted to close the hearing.
Oh, that was just, all right, well, let's close the hearing.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen Chittister?
David Barnett in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor, that's four, all four of us. All right?
So I would like to make a motion in regards to 53 New Boston Road, the local bylaw, under the Sturbridge zoning bylaw, chapter 300-4.1, parentheses E, that we approve the project with the agent's notes and conditions as stated.
Stephen Chittister, I
David
second.
Barnett, second.
You second it?
Yep.
You seconded it. Any discussion? Hearing none. Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor?
Dave Barnacle?
David Barnett in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
If you have any questions, Tom, on it, you talk to Becky. okay?
Talk to him.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We'll let you know when your permit's ready too.
All right, we are now
'Cause,
at
yeah.
30, Lot 3, 30 Main. Continued, ANRAD.
Give me 1 second. So we have Justin Stelmach, who is the applicant on the line here. As of yesterday, my recommendation was to continue because we didn't receive Oxbow's report. He did email last night his report. What we had was, just as a reminder, we had a peer review done. That's 3, I think. We had a peer review done. There was a couple recommended revisions to the project plans. The applicant's engineers did revise the project plans. Those were submitted right before Christmas. We did send that over to Oxbow. You can read the report. He did review the revised plans, and he doesn't have any concerns and recommends issuing an ORAD at this time. With that, my recommendation would also be that we just note that vernal pool habitat does occur on the site, which is protected pursuant to our local bylaw, which wasn't requested as part of the ORAD. We did approve the mean annual high water line of the vernal pools on the site, which helps us establish where that vernal pool habitat is according to our local bylaw, but we didn't do that as part of this process. I did speak to the applicant about it. They will be submitting a notice of intent this spring, and we will look at that further at that time. So we just want to make sure we note that in there because that resource area does exist on the site. So my recommendation would be to approve it with that note in the findings. I also recommend that all the vernal pools that were identified on the site be certified with the Natural Heritage Program.
You're getting that all out of this one page, Beck? Or did you get something else?
That's what I wrote.
Yeah,
What?
that's what she wrote.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Well, there was a separate peer review, and then this was a response to the changes.
yeah,
that were-
right,
Yeah.
right.
Those are just my other additional comments, sorry. Yeah, Justin, is there anything you want to add for comment here?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was just logging on from my phone because my computer just lost connection. No, I don't think there's anything to add.
Okay, thank you. I just gave them the letter. This is the first time they've seen it since it came in last night, so
Yeah.
I know you're still reading it, Ed.
Mr. Chairman, maybe one of the things we need to make certain is part and parcel of the information that we're providing is the local bylaw for vernal pools includes a 200-foot buffer zone.
Right, it includes, right, the 200 feet that extends from a vernal pool can be delineated as vernal pool habitat under the local bylaw. The 100-foot is a absolute no-touch, the vernal pool habitat, but the 200-foot, depending on, the site, et cetera, the commission can have further discretion on activities in that area.
Yep.
All right. Stephen, what do you?
So I'm good with Becky's comments and the results of the response.
Survey, yeah. Eric?
No, I'm good.
I still, because this is a special permit, there is open space that's supposed to be designated with regard to this property. Where is that space going to be?
Well, this is just the ANRAD, so this is just resource area delineation at this
Okay.
point. So if that's something that when they come through with their notice of intent, they'll have to address all of it
Okay.
at that time. Right.
I know I keep saying that, and you keep giving me the same answer, but I just want to make sure that,
We just want to make sure, keep her on her toes.
right. No, not keep her on her toes, keep me, yeah, it gives me a comfort. All right, do I have a motion?
Check the public first.
Yeah.
Oh, is there anyone in the public who would like to speak in regards to the public hearing for the notice of resource area delineation for Lot 3, 30 Main Street and 20 Fisk Hill Road? Nope.
No school?
Mis-
Do I answer?
Yeah. I'm sure my wife will text me soon enough.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Motion, Eric Gaspar.
Any discussion? Okay,
Tomorrow, sorry, I missed that.
no discussion? All in favor?
Stephen Chittister in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
David Barnacle in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
I'd like to make a motion to issue an ORAD for Lot 3, 30 Main Street and 20 Fisk Hill Road, associated with DEP file 300-1113, with the appropriate agents notations.
Stephen Chittister, I second.
Second? Any discussion? David?
No.
No discussion, all in favor?
Stephen Chittister.
David Barnacle in favor.
Yeah.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ed Gooder in favor. All right. All right, Becky, we are at 150 Charlton Road.
Yep. So I did receive a written request for a continuation today to our next meeting for this project. This is as a reminder. We did at the last meeting, you voted for, we didn't vote for a peer review. You voted on who to choose for the peer reviewer. We did start that process. The peer review just we were able to have them initiate that. We had to wait till funds received, et cetera, for that to get started. So they did just start that right before the Christmas holiday. I do anticipate in the near future we'll have that, definitely in time for the next meeting. So they're gonna give us they're asking for a continuation to the January 27th meeting. Recommend approval.
Okay.
So
Discussion?
moved.
Do we need to check with the public, just to make sure we don't?
Yep.
Yes. Anyone in the public who would like to speak in regards to the notice of intent for 150 Charlton Road? There's no one in the public who would like to speak on that.
I second the motion to continue the hearing.
Any discussion? All in favor of continuing?
David Barnacle in favor.
David Barnacle in favor?
Eric Gaspar's in favor.
And Ed Goodwin's in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Didn't I say that?
I got cut off, so I just went on. For the record.
Now you're confusing me. All right, we are now, what are we at, 150 Charlton?
No, we're at number 6.
231, 232, 235.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Yep, we are at Cedar Street location for NOI, continued and rad. Is this continued, Becky, still?
Yep, so I did receive a written request for a continuation to our April 21st, 2022 meeting. I had that in the detailed agenda as a recommendation. Just so you're aware, they did start the tree cutting and removal of some of the topsoil to start the wetland restoration work, but because of the time of year, they're not going to be able to complete that until spring. So my recommendation was at least April 21st, and they did agree
Okay.
with that, so.
All right. Any comments? David?
No comment.
Yep. All right, no?
Anything from the public?
Anyone in the public who would like to comment on the notice of resource area delineation for 231, 235, and 233 Cedar Street? Nope.
Motion to continue the hearing until April 21st, 2022.
Do I have a
Chittister,
second?
I second.
Discussion?
I'd like to make a discussion point, though. There was something in Becky's minutes that talked about, hang on. Nope, different item, sorry. No comment.
No comment? All right, all in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. You want to go again, Stephen? No.
Oh, I'm good.
All right, we are now at 24 Hamilton Road. Body tree removal.
Okay, so for this request for determination of applicability, I did receive a written request to withdraw this application from the applicant. My recommendation would be to close the public hearing and vote to accept the withdrawal. I was told that they're just going to let nature take its course there.
Good.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we close the public hearing.
do I have a second?
Do we need to let's check the public?
Oh,
hearing?
yeah. Anyone on the public line
the
who would like
public
to
would
speak in regards to the RDA for 24 Hamilton Road? Nope.
Okay.
All right.
Make a motion that we close the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Stephen Chittister, a second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Make a motion that we accept the withdrawal of the petition for the RDA for the removal of 40 trees at 24 Hamilton Road.
Stephen,
But do we need to do that? Do we need to do that? We closed the public hearing and no action has been taken on it.
Okay, I think that's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
They withdrew it, so.
You know, I would like to make a comment if you're going to send them a note. There were some completely dead trees. I don't know why they wouldn't take them down.
I asked them, I said, right, I made
You
that
know, it's
comment,
like,
they could.
it's like there was stuff that was really good, and they
Right.
wanted to take it down, and there were some really dead trees.
Yeah.
I don't know why they wouldn't take them down.
But there's no, I mean, I imagine that at some point, there may be people walking through there, but it's not like there's no structure.
there's no- yeah, no.
You know, there's, in my opinion, if the wind's blowing hard enough to blow those trees down, you're probably not going to be standing.
You're not
fishing
being
in the
fly
first
fishing?
Yeah. Unless the wind is behind you, you
Yeah.
can fly right out there.
Get it across that little pond.
Okay, we are now at wetland decision. Becky, you want
Yeah.
to, 28th to preserve?
Yeah, that one's quick, we can do that one. So this is a request for a partial certificate of compliance for DEP file number 300-471. That was for the whole preserved subdivision, so every lot, was
Yeah.
part of that, so this
Yeah.
was never closed out for this property. I did, pull out the site plans, I did go by the site. This property does have, a small wetland in the front of it, and a conservation easement in that area. When I went out there, there was no intrusion into that area, nothing of concern. The yard and the house appear consistent with what was approved on that initial plan, so I don't have any concerns with that. I'd recommend issuance of the partial certificate of compliance to release that specific property.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion that we issue the partial certificate of compliance for 28 Preserve Way, DP file 300-0471.
Stephen Chittister, a second.
Discussion? All in favor? David?
Hang on. Oh, yes, okay. David Barnacle in favor.
In favor?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Now, do we want to get Victor on the line here? He's,
Yeah, well, we have, the next one is 300 Clark Road. We do have someone on the line for that one, too.
oh, okay.
And then
All right.
then he's
Sorry,
next.
Victor. I
know
told you you
he's
should
been on
join
there
the
for a long
committee.
time.
Go ahead.
We used to do that all the time. Those lives don't work anymore. My tip is, worst lives.
Watching TV or something. So next is, Joe, if you're on there, I'm gonna start yours next. I'm just gonna give a quick summary, and you can be on to answer any questions that they might have, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, so this is a tree removal request. There's, for 300 Clark Road, there's one large pine tree on the property that they'd like to have removed. We did perform a site visit out there last week. She has a licensed forester that works for the company that's taking the tree down, did meet us out there and went over some concerns he had for the tree. Some of the things that were kind of noted during the site visit was, you know, looking at replacement options for that tree. I didn't receive a plan, but we do have the property owner on here. I did talk to her yesterday. She's very open to some replacements on that property. All right?
Okay.
My recommendation would be, you know, approve the tree with some replacements. A 2-for-1, I think, would be appropriate here.
They're going to stump the tree?
We don't usually allow that as part of the approval,
I'm
the
just-
stumping and grinding.
Okay, so they're not going to?
Well, we can ask them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, we always put that as a condition in the letter.
Okay.
no stumping or grinding.
And where are the trees going to be placed, and what are they, and how big are they?
Well, that's what we have to ask,
Yep.
discuss. I think she's open to suggestions. She's actually in, property owners in Florida right now, and, hasn't spoken to her tree person, so I think that we can,
So we're going to continue this?
do you want to
What are we
stay
doing?
where you want them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think when we were on site, our preference would be if that tree's coming down, that we put two potential shade trees, native shade trees that were gonna be in close proximity to the lake.
Right.
In the front of the building.
Right.
To provide the canopy that is gonna be lost by that big tree coming out. And if that's okay with the applicant, and I think we had talked at least, 2 inches in diameter or something like that on site?
I don't know, I don't remember a thickness.
No. Well,
That's what I would like to see. I agree with that.
And a third one near the stump of the old tree in the back?
Well, they're removing 2 trees, right?
well, that's dead.
That was already approved as part of the orders of conditions that was previously issued when they did
Okay.
some work there before.
Okay. And did we ask for tree? Okay,
Not for that one, no,
okay,
no.
all right. Yeah, I mean, there is absolutely nothing on the front of that property on the lake, so yes, a minimum of 2 substantial trees, in my opinion.
For some past ones, we've done about 1.5 to 2 inch DBH. Would you,
Yep,
I'd be good with that.
would you be looking for something deciduous, native deciduous? in that-
Yes.
Up there, maybe like
Yeah.
a red maple that's gonna have a big canopy, or?
yep.
Right, red maple would be ideal for that location.
Yeah.
And why would we not consider 3-for-1 instead of 2-for-1 due to the size of that tree?
I think we should. I think that we should.
If the property owner's amenable, yeah, I'd like to see, as Ed mentioned, if we could have one by where the tree's being removed, that would be, I mean, it's up to the owner exactly where that goes, but,
So the first 2 trees, would you like, give a certain distance to the lake that you'd like to see them put in?
I want it within the 25-foot
25
buffer.
foot, okay. Appropriately spaced,
And not on the boundary of the property.
okay. Joe, I don't know if you could hear everything, or, the commission was just discussing, tree replacements for the removal of that large pine. Could you hear what they were discussing?
Yeah, I didn't really hear them. What did they say, a 25 what?
Yeah, so they'd like to see 2 red maples put in within 25 feet of the lake.
Okay.
Okay, and those would be appropriately spaced. The arborist can help you, space them, we're not gonna put them 2 feet apart. They need to, have the ability to grow up in those areas.
Yeah.
They have kind
I'm
of
sure
a set
Yeah.
size. What we use is it's diameter at breast height. It's 1.5 to 2 inches. And they also would like to see, just because that's such a large tree with the canopy there, one additional tree kind of planted near where the pine tree's coming out, to kind of shade for that area.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and now obviously those.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Hold on a minute, please. I didn't hear you. What? How big? How big are you looking at? How big of a tree do you want to see there?
So they usually go by what's diameter at breast height, so it's 1.5 inch to 2 inch tree. So when you go to the nursery, they can, help you find that.
Yeah, I don't know if my tree guy is listening to this. Remember, you said he might be on, or I don't think he's on here.
Yeah, I never heard
He's on
from
here
him.
right now. Okay. But you'll send me something in writing maybe, or something that I can give to him? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
As long as we have something in writing that, can tell me certainly we can't do it now, but probably in the spring or whatever, when we get, when we can get what we will, okay? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Whatever.
so to be planted
You'll
this spring.
send me something, you can give me something in writing after it does come down, I don't know when he can get to it to take it down, but whatever, we'll get to it.
Okay, so what we'll do,
Okay.
Joe, is we'll issue you what we call a letter permit, and it'll have those conditions in it. So we'll mail that to your address, we'll email it to you, and I'll email it to your tree person for you too, okay?
Yeah, send it to him and send me a letter in the mail to my Canterbury, in my Long Meadow
Okay.
address, okay? That would be great, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
You guys want to vote?
Okay.
Well, I
Okay.
think we should provide them some clarification. I personally, if we have a 2-to-1 replacement, I don't see it necessary for us to add a third, but I think we should probably give them some, if that is going to be the request of the other commissioners, we should give them some guidance on what that third one is as well.
Yeah,
Well, remember that
I agree.
in our bylaw,
Yeah.
what we talk about is a minimum of 2-to-1 replacement.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I just feel
And in this
we're getting more we're getting canopy closer to the lake, so I don't know that it's necessary in this case, but at a minimum, we should provide them guidance.
I'm fine with if she wants to get that third tree.
Rebecca?
Yeah, I'm still here. They're just discussing right now. If you can't hear them, I'll let you know.
Okay,
Yes.
I really didn't get exactly what they said, but I'm sure you can, get it to me, whatever they're saying. I'm not getting what they're saying, okay?
Okay.
So the comment I was gonna make, I'm fine with that third tree if she wants to go with something, smaller, that's less expensive. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
We'd be looking for something for habitat, a bearing bush or something. Dave, that would have pleased
Jesus.
David.
Thanks, Eric.
David's gonna give his opinion, then he's gonna call in on the line. Give him another opinion.
Yeah, my concern is just that there's so little vegetation, on that site, particularly, I mean, there's nothing.
There's none.
There's nothing on the lake,
Yeah, I don't disagree.
so.
Yeah. Okay. You got it, Beck? We all set?
We need a motion.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the tree removal at 300 Clark Road with 3 replacements, 2 substantial red maples to be located within the 25 feet of the lake and placed appropriately by the arborist recommendations, not on the boundary line of their property, and a third that could be habitat that is near the tree that is being taken down.
I second that motion. Stephen should have started.
Rebecca?
Yep.
Before I hang up, could you ask them about that tree that's in the state property, if they can remove that too? Because that's kind of dead and it's kind of facing my property, and I'd like them to see if they can remove that, the one that's on the state property.
Yeah, Joe, so when I talked to the tree warden about that, I mean, that's on state property, so you'd have
Yeah.
to, because it's owned by the state would have to give permission for that, so that would be the first course. And if you want to have that removed, you'd have to talk to the state about that. The tree warden, the tree warden had looked at it, and he felt that it wasn't a threat for your property, that if it did fall, it would fall into the forested area on the state property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do I contact, or do I just let it go, or what? I really, it's just not going to look good if it does come down. It's really not going to look well if it does come down. Who do I contact if I want it down? I mean, who do I talk to or whatever?
It's the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife that's owns the boat ramp there. I can try to see if I can find a contact for you. I don't know.
All right, if you do, if you can text me a number of somebody I can get in contact with, because it really doesn't look good. It's dead and it looks kind of crappy there. You remember you saw it there.
Yeah, I
And
saw
really
it.
does-
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it does look kind of crappy there. If they can do something about it, would be good. You know what I mean? It does look kind of crappy there, okay?
Yeah.
I would appreciate if you could get back to me on that. Okay? Thank you.
you're welcome. I mean, just the only thing is that dead trees near the lake provide great habitat, so if they're not a threat, we wouldn't encourage them to come down. like if it's not gonna, cause any harm or anything like that, but that would be up to Fish and
Well,
Wildlife.
it is, you know what it is a dead tree, and it does look kind of, it's not an asset to the lake anyway, as you can see, but whatever.
Okay.
If they can do something about it, it would be good, okay? I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good night. Thanks. Bye.
Has Eric's motion been seconded?
Yes.
Even second.
It was.
Yeah, seconded.
Okay, then I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, David.
Eric, I'm not sure that the last part of that is not too ambiguous for her to be able to understand what to plant. I think we should be more precise. She was asking Becky for help to say exactly what. I mean, for example, you could say any berry bearing bush, or you could say a white oak or a black oak. But I think you need to be more precise in what we're telling her. What she wants to do is hand a slip of paper to a forester and say, hey, go do this.
All right, so then my suggestion, I would like to amend my motion to specifically line item out a berry-bearing bush that will help with wildlife habitat.
Thank you.
Does that work?
I will second that motion.
I'd like to make it a red oak. Really, a very, very bearing bushes are,
Or an oak tree, berry bearing bush or oak tree.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Oak does well even in wet weather.
I'll amend my motion. I'll leave it up to, I'll leave it up to the gods.
Okay. Stephen Chittister, I second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. We are now on 42 Wells Park.
Where Victor,
What?
Victor finally gets his moment.
I know. Hi, Victor.
Oh, how you doing?
Good, good. All right, 42 Wells Park Road, tree removal. All right, so where did we end up? Was it 7 that we agreed to, Victor?
Yes, we agreed 7, and we agreed that the big oak adjacent to the stream was untouchable
Right.
and needed to be protected during the removal. And one other tree, one other oak, large oak, near my shed, has a smaller oak attached to it, and I was advised to be careful, to tell them to be careful when they take that out, not go straight down and cut the root and damage
Yep.
the large one. So those were the 2 major issues. But yes, there's a total of 7 on my property. One is a large dead one that is right on my property line with Doug Smith, with 101
Yeah.
Walker Pond. It is completely dead. I don't think there's any issue to it.
No, there's none at all.
No.
Any,
I was just curious
I
about.
do have a question. My lot is a little less than an acre, about 0.89, and I've got over 50 oak, post oak, and several white oak, medium size and some good size. And it's a major effort every year, fall cleanup, and keeping the leaves out of the stream, which I have to do. And so my question is on this replacement plantings. I don't know if I need any more leaves. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Other than that, I'm hoping you just approve the seven
did
trees.
Did you request replacement?
I didn't. I think we had some discussion on site
Yeah.
about it, and it didn't appear that replacements were going to be necessary.
I didn't,
Yeah,
Eric?
I didn't see any need for, the only thing that I cared about was, the major thing I cared about was protecting that large oak.
Yeah.
If-
We have no request for replacement.
Okay, I thought you had mentioned that when we were leaving the site, but maybe I misunderstood you, so. That's
No, I
why
tried to get Victor to come on the committee as an associate member.
Yeah.
And all in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
We need an actual motion.
Go to the,
It's not a public hearing.
what?
Get a motion.
Yeah, a motion to approve the 7 requested trees to be removed for 42 Wells Park Road.
Stephen Chittister, I second that.
Seconded. Any further discussion?
I just want to make absolutely certain that Advantage Tree Service does not cut down that oak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will add in conditions, especially for
Yeah.
a site like this. Some of the tree removals, I do require that they meet me out there before they start work, so we can go over the approval to make sure they clearly understand.
Yep.
And then anything that needs to be done. So that's a condition I would add in there.
Yep.
Thank you, Becky.
As an old retired Marine, I will guard it with my life.
That's excellent. I appreciate that.
Well, Victor, you were indifferent. It was Doug that wanted the additional solar capability out of it. So.
Yeah, I was, I was not in favor of taking that out in the first place.
Okay, good. All in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you.
Yep. Becky, what about number 11?
I'm not sure. I thought Doug was gonna join the meeting. I don't know if he had any issues with that. Doug, are you on here by any chance? No, he said he was gonna join remotely. Maybe something came up. I don't know who this Neil Bernesci on here is. They've been on since I logged into the meeting, so I don't know if that's somebody else. But I can go over it. I don't think there was any real concerns here. So this is 101 and 107 Walker Pond Road.
Yep.
It's a tree removal.
Sorry, yeah.
The request to approve 5 trees. We did perform a site visit. He pointed these trees out. We did talk about them.
Yep.
I would recommend, some of the trees are dead, some have some structural concerns, et cetera. Recommend approval with the same conditions that we just discussed. I'd meet them out
Yep.
there, go over, make sure everything's properly marked, especially there was the few that he had within the wetland, those fallen ones that he was concerned about. We can go over, properly cutting them down, and I think the consensus was that those few that were in there could be left in place.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. That was the only comment that I was going to make, that if we can make sure that somewhere in the communication that any of those trees that he deemed already dead, which were, do provide a tremendous amount of habitat, and we want to make sure that they're done properly, and they do border or are certainly within a projected buffer zone for that wetland, so.
I'm also concerned that when those trees, particularly that enormous pine, when those are brought down, that needs to be done carefully so that they don't wipe out, 10 additional trees by taking that one tree down.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're planning to do that, but,
Said he was gonna creep the crane around the back, right?
yeah.
Or
Or a bucket.
truck around the back. The crane was gonna be on the
It's a
road.
bucket truck.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be that controlled.
So they're gonna need to develop a plan to protect other trees to remove that one,
Yeah.
pretty much, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And if we lose a bunch of trees, we're gonna need some replacement, so I guess I'd like
Okay,
to have
I
that
can note
included
that.
in a condition.
Yep,
It's a good condition.
yep, I agree.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 5 requested removals for 101 and 107 Walker Pond Road with the agents and the commissioner's comments to make sure that we protect the other trees that are around trees that are to be removed.
Second?
Stephen Chittister, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, great.
Yay.
Administrative decisions.
Oh, the minutes of the December 7th,
Yep.
2021 meeting.
All right,
Make a motion to approve the minutes. Since I submitted the Mullen report, I can do that, right? Or because I wasn't
yes.
here,
Yeah,
I can't?
yep.
Can.
I can.
Yep, you're fully,
For the December 7th, 2021 meeting.
Stephen Chittister, second.
discussion?
I have one tiny correction that I think we should make. On page 5, at the top of page 5, this is where we're talking about Stallion Hill Road and all the work that was being done and the woman who was scared about her drinking water, et cetera. What we indicate at the top of page 5 is that the engineer ensured that she would be taken care of as far as her fresh water is concerned. And I'd like to change that insured to ensured, change the I to an E.
Yeah,
Got it.
marked it.
Yeah, I guess that is a fairly significant meaning.
Legally,
Thanks.
yes.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, David.
Good find.
That was an interesting.
All right, any further? Hearing nothing further, with
I have no others.
All in favor? David?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor?
And Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, old business. 70 Paradise Lane, DEP file number 300-929.
Yeah, so just an update on this, since the last meeting, I did go out and meet with the property owner. This is an old orders of conditions that wasn't closed out. We had a tree removal out there previously that you had to go back out and take a look at after it was done, so you did that. We had noted when they came in for the tree removal that they didn't close their permit out, and then it kind of, reviewing the plans, it appeared that he didn't put in some of the drainage improvements that were part of the permit. So I went out there and talked to him about that and asked them, to come up with a plan to come back to the commission with, to put those drainage improvements in, because they do have, considerable runoff going off from the roof, there's some from the driveway, et cetera. He said he would work with an engineer and get those back in. It has been the holidays, I haven't heard from him. I just would recommend we just put that in writing as a request from the commission. The permit is expired, which I did share with him. They would need to file at least an RDA to put those things in. But I think it's important that they realize that they're not in compliance with their permit and that these are things that they need to do officially, so. And
Okay.
maybe expect a draft or a draft plan to resolve that by a certain date. Maybe by the next meeting, for the next meeting.
It's just 2 trees, right?
No, this was a raise and rebuild of the house.
I know that, but what I'm saying is, it wasn't the discrepancy?
No, they were supposed to put in a roof runoff infiltration system, like a Cultec.
Yeah.
And they didn't do any of that.
Oh, okay,
And
all
so you've
right.
got runoff going off the site from gutters in different places. The roof line was changed a little bit. Everything was supposed to go to 1, but there's another gutter in the back. There's the pitch of the, it looks like they raised the property up a little bit, so there's a lot of runoff coming off the driveway, going, into a pipe that goes into resource area. So,
this is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
yeah,
well, it is, yeah.
things that need to be done.
Okay.
there. So I think it's just important that we give them a date to you expect them to come back with something, since we've been kind of having this conversation for a little while now.
What do you recommend?
I would say for the next meeting, and it doesn't have to be an engineered plan at this point, it can be a draft plan, a plan. What is your plan to, he said he can't put that unit in there because
So the 27th?
sewer line. Yeah, for the 27th.
He's saying he can't put the Coltech in because of the sewer line.
Correct, yeah. Yep, that's why they didn't put it in. So, well, there's other things you can do in other places, so you need to come up with something.
Right,
And come
yeah.
back to us with something, so.
All right.
All right. We're all in agreement on that, right? We don't have to vote on it.
In that letter that you send them, Becky, could you also, just in your normal subtle way, kind of indicate that a timely response is expected?
Well, we're saying specifically by the next meeting, David.
27th, David.
Yeah, but what we want them to know is that they've also got to have somebody lined up to do the work. Because this should not extend beyond the middle of 2022.
Yeah, I think we'll get them to come back with a proposal to address the concerns.
Yeah.
To bring it into compliance, and then at that discussion, talk about I think for the work that would need to be done in that jurisdiction, he'd at least need to file an RDA now because his permit's expired.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss when they can get that in, and then, get the work completed,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. You all right with that, David?
Oh, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Next for old business on here, we do have 205B, 205C Podunk Pike. There's an enforcement order that was issued in October of 2020. We were working on this last year. Just as a reminder, we sent them a letter in July. We were working with them. Initially, there was a whole lot of site restoration that was proposed to be done in addition to wetland restoration. The commission went out, some members went out, walked the site, decided that it was only wetland restoration that needed to be done on site. We did send him a letter. He did at that meeting say he was not interested in doing the wetland restoration. We did send a letter, outlining what was expected to come into compliance. And with that, gave some timeframes on when to get that work completed, which was September. I did send a follow-up letter in November to them, noting that we weren't aware that the conditions were met, and asked for them to provide us with, some information for this meeting. I have not received anything from them. No response to our letters, which we mailed and emailed to them. At this time, we're going on over a year since the enforcement order was issued. It might be necessary to advance this to the next step, if you so choose.
Could you, how long is the enforcement order, the letter? 3 pages? 2 pages?
Well, there's a letter. It's probably like 2 pages. We've had some correspondence
Yeah.
since then, a few
Could
additional.
you send me a copy of that for me to read?
The enforcement order?
Yeah,
In the
I'd like to read
okay.
it, yeah.
Do you want all the correspondence?
Let's start off with the enforcement.
Okay.
You know,
I
So
don't
take a
really
look
have
at
the
it.
Enforcement order, I think I just have the letter. Yeah.
take a look, we can take a look at it and see how it reads.
15, 20 minutes.
But I agree with your direction.
What's that, Ed?
I said I agree with your direction. I just want to read it,
Okay,
you know.
all right. and
Stephen,
then-
any comments?
I'm recused for this.
On that, adjacent, I've been working on some alternative language to that letter.
Yep.
I think we should remove Senator Goby completely. She's not on the environmental committee anymore.
Yep, yep.
But as a stroke of luck, as I was looking at the committees that Senator Fatman is on, he's actually the minority member of the Environmental Affairs Committee. So the fact that he's on that committee should give us hopefully a little bit more ability to get this advanced through the proper channels. But I also think that we need to maybe be a little bit more pointed about the fact that MIPA has absolutely refused to deal with the reality that this project has gone beyond the 25 acres. Like in every correspondence that we have looked at and spoken to, we have referenced it, and all the correspondence that they've gotten back, they have seemed to give us nothing back that would indicate they that either they agree or care or even want to pick up the item. So I think that that's the piece that I'm working on from a wording standpoint, and maybe clear out some of the other stuff, so it's, so the central theme,
Yep.
the most important crux of this is not 508 and their refusal to work with us on this and their violations, but it's more, we need help with getting MIPA to help us, because as I read through the letter, and it was all very good stuff, if I was receiving that, I was, from the standpoint of what am I supposed to do with this?
Right.
It sounded as if there was a little bit of, these guys are bad guys, which we all know that they've done a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing, and we need some help with that. We don't need some help with that, we need some help with them specifically getting MIPA to pay attention and to do something. So I think we can reduce a lot of the information that's in there, in the letter, give the backup documentation with the GIS overlays and the Google Maps overlays that shows definitively that there's in excess of 50 acres that have actually been altered, or 100, as 75 acres that have been altered, and use that as the singular point that this is what we need help with. Because we can't get anybody at MIPA to even pick up a phone or get in a car and go and review that site. And clearly, it's more than 25 acres. So I've been working on that, but I think that's if we bring Ann in, especially given her response to that other issue, I just think it creates a distraction where, well, this isn't my potato to deal with anymore. I'm going to pass it.
Yeah.
And having Senator Fatman being on that committee, I think will work out in our advantage. So that's what I'm working on. Unless,
Having a,
David, do you have any opinions on that?
The only consideration that I have relative to that is that now that Ann is not directly the representative for Sturbridge, she still lives in and is the representative for Charlton, and it is a Charlton entity that is causing havoc in an associated town. So I would think that she and Bachman ought to be talking together about what they could collectively do, and maybe two bodies would be better than just one. But that's up to you. You're the one that's leading the charge on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate the perspective on that. I'll chew on that, and maybe I'll share with you the language before I submit it back to Becky.
Good, thank you.
Okay, that's all. I know that was different old business, but I agree with what you were saying as well. If we need, with this, with these guys in general, the only way that we can deal with them is by keeping the hammer down, keeping it present, because all they are doing is proving that they just think that we are going to go away.
right, yep, you're right.
And we have to have more will than they do.
All right,
Oh yeah, this is a classic delay tactic because they know that periodically members of the board are going to change. So eventually their whole problem disappears.
Okay,
all right.
I'll send that over to you.
What's next? You want to go on to committee updates? We already did those. How about new business?
Oh, Dave's on now for,
Do you have any trail update?
For community updates, there was no trails meeting. There was one last month, but our next one is next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. We talked about the first right of refusal.
We did?
We did?
No, we
no,
didn't.
not yet. You were talking earlier too.
Oh, we talked about it
Yeah.
without you guys. She showed, you got the,
Hold on, I'm just trying to find, there we go. So I'm just gonna share my screen and just,
Well, why are you getting yourself set up, Becky? This is the one that you're talking about on Portal Pike?
yes.
yeah, Podunk.
About 12 to 15 years ago, including the property that is being developed with houses on it right now, that was going to be converted into a soccer camp. And it was going to be like, I don't know, 80 acres or something like that. The entire left-hand side of the road was going to be made into a gigantic 5 or 4 field soccer camp by an independent group. And they were going to allow the town to play their games on it. Unfortunately, the plan succumbed to 2008, 2009 financial woes.
Poor time.
Yeah. All right, so right, there's a right of first refusal here. I had some questions about it, which you probably read in the detailed agenda. There was 4 parcels that were shown on here, and there was some language within the purchase and sale agreement that referenced parcel A, shown here in the, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Am I sharing my screen? Yeah, oh, sorry, I'm looking at Eric's.
I
What's
get both.
going on here?
I'm wondering here.
So that parcel A was also going to be sold. The way the purchase and sale was reading, it said first that it was being sold to the buyer, which was the developer. And then it said separately after that, that it was being sold to someone else, but that the buyer would retain rights. It was a little confusing. Been working with the town planner and the town assessor on this. And the assessor had some additional information that we did not have. That parcel A has already been, sold. There's a recorded deed to a different entity.
Yeah.
That, and they also filled out an affidavit that they're leaving it in the chapter land program. They're not taking it out.
Good.
I think that from what I've kind of heard, that they will be building a single family house residence there. And you can do that without having to take it out of the chapter land program, provided it stays in there. So that's what I heard about that one. Otherwise, my recommendation, I've heard that this might be coming out, and the first thing I thought was that it'd be a great opportunity
beautiful.
for the fields that the town.
Beautiful
needs.
piece of land.
Obviously it'd be nice to see it stay in agriculture, but it would be nice for the multi-purpose fields that the town's looking for at a probably reasonable cost, because it's already pretty flat fields out there. So,
Yeah.
had it all been able to come to the town, I think that it would have been a great acquisition for that purpose. But unfortunately, that parcel won't be. But when they parceled off the lots across the street that they're currently developing, we have permits over there. I mean, I did note in there that, this property owner has been, slowly parceling off pieces. And they do have, it's over 100 acres of land over there. And had this all been one parcel, it would have been nice for the town for multi-purposes, because it does abut some landlocked town that we do have in the care and custody of the Conservation Commission behind it, that then does abut DCR. It would provide nice connectivity to a lot of open space parcels back there too. So I don't know if they have any other future intents here. They've left one area, you can see at the bottom of the screen, in the red there's the current lot, where that's their access to get to the rest of the property. Everything else has been, all the frontage is gone at this point, so I'm not sure what their intent is, but, in hindsight now, it's kind of, maybe, thinking about, and it's not necessarily obviously for conservation thing, but the town should be thinking about, our needs, and if we have recreational needs, maybe we should be being more proactive in looking at what parcels are in this program that might be coming out, and working with those landowners instead of, finding out after the fact, like, it could have been something.
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
They would have sold to the town, if we have this need and we don't have great land for these things, especially when it's something that would save a lot of cost to develop into recreational fields or whatever purpose. We should probably be being more proactive.
Well, honestly, we should reach out to whoever just recently purchased that, if they're keeping in chapter land, and still have that discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing stopping us, even though they're now two separate owners, from having that conversation. So,
It's true.
In this case, we'd also want to consider B, C, and D, because they're the access to that, to the purple outline one, which is A, right? So to Eric's point, I agree. is there any way we can reach out to the new owners of that and just say, because,
The owners are is it known who the owners are or no?
Yeah, it's listed on the purchase and sale, the other purchase and
Yeah,
sale.
They have a plan to build one house. And
Right.
keep the rest as just what it is.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't hurt to ask, but I know that, what I heard is they've been looking in town for a while for a large piece of property to build a home, and,
this is it, I see.
yeah.
Maybe we could interest them in a piece of Heinz Farm or, no.
Right? Dowdy Road. I know, it's unfortunate because, right, you think, we don't, or you're gonna find somewhere that has the land that the town would need for rec.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is perfect for fields, for
Right,
athletic
it's
fields.
right next to
Yeah.
49, it's not in the middle of a neighborhood,
Right.
It's flat.
It's flat.
Flat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It-
It probably doesn't have ledge under.
Right.
yeah,
Well, now I'm depressed.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been
Thanks,
depressed
Becky.
for a while. I've been depressed for a while, so, but I guess it can't hurt, you know what I mean? The town has 180 days to act. If you don't want to make a recommendation at this time, your recommendation can be that the town might want to consider.
Let's just ask them if there's any chance that they might consider doing that. I don't know.
Well, it's not up for sale, yeah. It's not 180 days it's only on the three lots. Be clear.
Oh, right, but right, you wouldn't want to
The
say,
acreage we want is not for sale.
Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying.
right, but if you
Yeah,
don't.
but at the same
We can
time,
go around.
somebody's got to plant the seed.
Go knock on the door and ask them if they want to sell their backyard. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. These people are
Yeah.
setting up to build their, I don't want a lot of kids.
Challenging because there's nothing
Yeah.
else in town that's like this. Really.
Right.
Yeah. So,
And I don't think we should be looking at it from the perspective of the family, but rather looking at it from the perspective of the town. In which case, we ought to make a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen, what we just got done talking about, that we thought it would be ideal for things like fields, and they should look at it with the rec department. Then let them handle the issue about whatever kinds of benefits that they can possibly offer to the family.
Good point. If we put some sort of small activity out there, it might discourage them from wanting to build out there. Welcome to Sturbridge. We're friendly.
there's the plan. What we'll do is we'll put
Park and ride.
a town barn out on those 3 lots.
Oh, nice.
Enough. We got to move on, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, you need to make them, you want to.
What do you want to do? Do you want to?
Act on this.
I don't want to act on it. There's no action here. What do we want to act on?
Well, do you want me to write a memo to the Board of Selectmen?
What?
Usually you make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. That's how it works. Do you want to make a recommendation that they, before making,
We're being asked on the 3 lots.
Yeah,
3 lots for $150,000.
Oh, is that what the number is? I
Yeah.
was just going to ask that. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no, my recommendation would be that we pass.
We could note the things that we noticed about this. and
Yeah.
mention That
Yeah.
otherwise.
I-
if
It seems,
was,
yeah.
It could.
What are you saying, David?
I think that's very short-sighted, Ed. I think that what we should do is point out that those first 3 might be a leading route into a potential for tremendous fields for the town, and that the town should be looking at it more carefully. And I think we should send a letter off tomorrow, because 180 days flies by really quickly when you think about the selectmen.
Yeah.
Especially with a town administrator that's not permanent.
You know, I'm opposed to it, but Eric, what do you think?
I mean, I guess there's no purpose to it if we can't gain access to the other part of the land. So if we can write a letter to the Board of Selectmen that said if there's any way for us to, gain access to, and purchase these properties as part of a grander project, and that can be investigated. If it
Eminent
can be
domain.
worded that way, then I'd be okay with it. But I agree with you, there's no purpose to buying 4 acres for $150,000. What are we gonna do with it? You know, it's just gonna be another draw on cash. But if there was something that could be, if the Board of Selectmen could sit down with the Recreation Department and have some conversations, I'd be for it. But, you know, if it could be expanded.
Yep.
Is that something we can ask?
I certainly feel it is.
I'd support that letter.
Okay.
But if it's just,
Right.
if it's just a straight, those 3 parcels, I 100% agree with that. There's no purpose to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can write the letter. I don't support it from the point of view of the logic of I could go around town and pick out people's backyards that would be ideal. And write the letter, I'll read it to the selectmen. This property is not for sale.
Yeah.
All property that's not for sale is an opportunity, but it's not as good as the stuff that's for sale.
Okay, so far we have 2 people in favor of, can we hear from the third person?
3 of you are in favor of it. I'm not bullying it away. I'm just saying that, you know.
Fine, we want to move.
So what, no, you want 3, the 3 of you want to write a letter to the selectmen saying that they should buy that property and use it as an access to get to the next piece.
Just we write a letter to say, please take a look at this. We think this would be an ideal location for fields, athletic
Right.
fields.
We understand that parcel A was recently transferred, however, it's not coming out of chapter land, but if they have the intent to take it out of chapter land, it's something the town should pursue. Or
Exactly.
something like that.
Right.
Okay, I'll run it by
Sounds good.
one of you two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do recall though that when we, when.
Because if they,
Parcel came up, we had a motion.
If they do go to put the house on and they decide
Oh,
they
yeah.
want to take it out,
Consider his
Yes.
motion.
Oh, I remember.
then we would have an
Yeah.
opportunity.
I don't know,
Right.
does it need a
Right.
motion?
Okay, I'm not, you know.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they investigate these properties, but make sure that they are aware that we are not in support of only purchasing those 3 acres, if only it can be part of a grander project.
Right.
That, for the use of the town.
A second motion.
David seconded, all in favor?
David Barnacle in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Ed Gooden abstaining.
Come on, Ed, oppose. You want to oppose.
No, I
opposed
love
something
fields.
today.
I love fields.
Oh, yeah, bad form to oppose the fields. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Nobody wants to be on that record.
No. Becky, what's next?
Who seconded that one? Do we remember?
Yeah.
I did.
David did.
Okay.
Um,
Agent report, Becky.
oh, yes, all right.
I think the inside of this mask is growing fur.
All right, so I'll just go through these kind of quickly. Just a reminder, the next meeting, we're scheduled to be at the center office building again. Anything changes, I'll let you know, but that's the plan. They need to gut all the AV equipment in here, and we're moving over there. So that is that.
And my plan to be in Dallas may have changed, so I may actually be here.
Oh, okay, yes, I forgot you told me that. Quick update, 102 South Shore Drive, we were out there, they got the drainage issues. I've been constantly checking in where things, I was having issues getting an engineer, he had Clear Engineering go out there, look at some things, we brainstormed some ideas, really looking at stuff at the road to make some improvements. They were concerned, with what the engineer might want to pay for that. I just asked them, I said, well, at this point, I think we've got enough ideas. If we can do a lot of things by the road, it means less that's being done down by the lake. Put together a draft plan, we need to get that to the commission and discuss moving forward because it needs to get fixed. So, expecting to get something soon from them. I'd like to have something you can look at the next meeting, for that, because it is continually washing out. It hasn't been as bad because we haven't had as many big storms, but next big storm, we're gonna have more material going into the lake, so, been working on that. Quick update, Cedar Lake DOT, they've done some more stuff out there. There was a whole list we gave them of things to do. They went through them. There's about 3 things that are left out there. DOT maintenance is supposed to be going out there to do it. One is cleaning out the big swale. At the bottom, there was a lot of brush material, leaves that had kind of accumulated. We want them to clean that out. Finally take the silt fence out of Cedar Lake down there, which has been in there for multiple years at this time. And then, not originally noted, but was observed out there, is the service road where we parked to go in, that culvert, the bottom, the concrete on there is kind of washed out. We asked them to fix that, because if that washes out underneath, more material is gonna come out, and it's gonna be a bigger issue in that pond. They said they do that, but it has flowing water in it most of the time, so they have to wait until to patch it, and I don't think, time of year, season, they can patch it right now. But it's on their radar, and they've been being pretty responsive, so hopefully, we'll get that done. We talked about it before, the Hamilton roadside work, that's gonna be in the spring. I did meet DPW out there and kind of went over the drainage things we talked about. They wanna wait until all the equipment's gone in there and done their work, which makes sense. Just to let you know, I'm gonna be working on the 319 grant for South Pond that was awarded. Sat in a meeting, there's a company that was hired to do a watershed-based plan, which I think will be pretty interesting, looking at all the factors that might be influencing the lake. We talked about the roads, the runoff issues, so it'll be nice to see, they look at the whole watershed. And actually, South Pond has a pretty small watershed, except, it gets North Pond backflows into that. So it'd be interesting to see. We've been putting a lot of information together for them. Found a
Spencer Stewart.
yeah, exactly, which, right, 7 Mile River, and then goes
Yeah.
from North Pond to South Pond. So
Yeah.
they'll be looking at all that. So I think it'll be interesting, and I think what would be really interesting about it is to see how maybe that could help us with our other lakes. Instead of looking at how do we treat the weed issue right here, all right, what's the bigger picture issue and how to deal with that to help, things in the future too. So working on that. I received yesterday a notification from Central Mass Mosquito Control. I had actually met them out on Woodlawn Drive, I was gonna say Ave, but Woodlawn, last October. They had done some work out there. I think it's 18 Woodlawn property. There's a ditch there. They sent us a notification that this summer that they'll be doing additional work out there. I have that information. I'll put it on the next meeting agenda. We can go out there and take a look at it. What was I gonna say? Yeah, we have 30 days to provide any comment to them. Mosquito control is an exempt activity under the Wetlands Protection Act. So I'll put that on for the next one. Trails informed me that it's a priority for them to fix the 7 Ridges Trail on the lead mine property. I've gone out there a couple times over the past couple years with Tom Chamberlain. There's an area of trail that's continually washes out. They'd like to relocate that away from the stream, which I think is a good improvement. And there's 2 areas where they have to do bridges. So they want to be able to do that work this summer, which means they'll need to do permitting and all that stuff. So that's something that we should see coming up, and they'll probably be working with them on that too. So, I've been looking at Community Preservation Coalition's website on projects that have been approved in different towns for conservation purposes to try to come up with, because for next fiscal year, maybe a couple projects to submit for funding for. What I'd like to do is, we were doing that invasives removal up at Hines along the field edges. I'd like to do a field edge preservation project, which can be approved through CPC, as long as it's for preservation of something. I was actually on we have an MSMCP group, and we were talking about different projects, and that was one thing that they had mentioned, because maintenance of something isn't allowable, but preservation, et cetera. So I'm gonna be working on trying to.
You better write that carefully.
Yes, put that together. We did some of the invasives, but we have, all the small pines, a lot of things growing in on those fields. So it'd be nice to kind of work on that. So I figured that's something that we've already kind of started. We talked about interpretive signs. I don't think that's something that we'll be able to tackle this year with some of these.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. But what I really want to do is I want to seek funding for comprehensive plans for our properties that go over, where trails is actually contracting with the Conway School Design to do like a master plan for trails on the properties, which would be could be a component of our master plan for our properties. Because we need to look at management, what we need to be doing out there for management activities, forestry, wildlife habitat, trails is an aspect of it, use, what we want to promote, how we want to promote it, interpretive signs for education, things like that. So it'd be nice to be able to hire, Arlington actually did this recently, they did it kind of for more of their overall town properties, but they did a plan for that to be able to hire a consultant for that. I'll send you the language, but I'm going to be working on that, whether that's for this coming fiscal year or next. It'd be nice to get that started. But I'm not sure if all of you have heard too that Tom Chamberlain eventually is going to be leaving. He does a lot of work for Trails Committee. I know I've kind of put this plug in before, but all the permitting, all the grants, things like that. Really, everything with the properties, it would be really nice to have like a land manager position or something of that nature to help with that, especially with, Trails Committee doesn't have a staff person, so a lot of things fall on us. We help them with their permitting and things like that, which it should be because it's for the conservation properties, but just think that's definitely a need because we just really don't have with the permitting we have, which we've shown is like in the past 10 years has increased 120%. It's hard to make that time. We want to make sure that we're managing them correctly and preserving, what we have out there too. So just a little plug for that. And just a reminder, care and custody of the Conservation Commission, you guys have 1,590.47 acres that I'm aware of in your care and custody.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of land. That doesn't include Riverlands because that's in the care and custody of the Board of Selectmen, so it's a lot of land. And then
Yeah, you should come up with a category that includes the land that we really have as a town.
Oh, total, yeah.
Because total is, who cares whether it's care and custody of us or the selectmen? I mean, you do because you'd have to work on it, but.
Yeah, oh yeah, so
I'm
yeah, if
just
you
saying.
added that one in, if you add all the town properties, that's a different number, I think,
Yeah.
too, but that's the only one. It's like another 200 acres or something like that you'd add into this, so. Yeah. So that's just some of the things we're working on, but right, it's just hard to continually kind of work on the land projects, because the permitting does take a lot of time, so just, it is also a responsibility that we have, so.
There was also a grant for the sidewalk project on Cedar Street that they want,
Oh, yeah,
just wanted to
yeah.
help tackle.
Yeah, we have we have funding to create, we created a plan for our municipal vulnerability program, and that's looking at so we have the funding to move forward with the next step of that. We really looked at stormwater impacts, culverts, infrastructure, things like that. So if the town wants to move forward to get that funding, we have to work on things like that too. So that's something that we might be working on too. Culvert replacements, drainage improvements, stormwater stuff. So that's resiliency with climate change. So that'll be something that we might have to work on too, so.
Oh, yeah, all that stuff, definitely.
There's a lot of things, so.
Yeah.
All the things. Now, are any of those projects things that can be paid for through the committee that they're putting together right now to oversee the potential funds that we could get from the feds, from the?
The art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but I don't know that infrastructure being roadway type things like that can qualify. I'm not 100% sure, but.
Sure, if we could figure out a way to attack
My,
climate change somehow.
My granddaughter, who works for the Globe now, writes for the Globe, just wrote an article in yesterday's paper. She's on Ipswich and the money, the grant that they just got for safety on their roads.
Oh.
So they have that one road going right in through, so I imagine it's that. But we're going to have the same problem here with all the trucks that are going to be coming down.
Yeah.
So that was just a plug for Rose. She's a Northeastern student, and she's got the work study, or whatever you want to call it. What do you call it?
Internship?
Internship, yeah.
Co-op, yeah. Is that it, Becky?
That's all.
That's it.
It's your time, Steve.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
David Barkley in favor.
Stephen
David.
Chittister in favor.
It wasn't 90 minutes, but, you know.